Many promoters of this chaos remain clear-eyed. They are not lying to themselves. They never do. They know exactly what's going on, and they know what they hope to achieve by it. With every night of rioting, they grow bolder. Now they are openly defending violence on television.
People are worried about the protesters and the looters, and it's just people who are frustrated.
They are frustrated, and they are angry, and they are out there, and they're upset. You shouldn't be taking televisions, but I can't tell people how to react to this.
I'm proud of the protests, and I think it's part of the tradition of New York. The violence is bad, reprehensible, should be condemned, but it is not the overwhelming picture in New York.
Destroying property which can be replaced is not violence.
Too many see the protests as the problem. Please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
You're crushed by this. You can't believe it's happening to your country. But for the people you just saw, the real problem is that the rioting, in some rare places, is being stopped by police. And their aim is to fix that. They would like to eliminate all law enforcement for good. Today, Democrats in Dallas took down the statue of a Texas Ranger from the terminal at Love Field. It had stood in the airport for more than 50 years. But Texas Rangers are cops, and cops must be removed even when they're made of bronze. Meanwhile, the Lego toy company has ceased marketing sets that contain plastic police officers. Apparently, they're too dangerous for our children, and so on. So much of this going on right now. Last night, for example, Brian Fallon, who was the press secretary of the Hillary Clinton for President campaign in the last election cycle, tweeted, quote, "Defund the police." Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib agrees. Expect more members of Congress to agree soon. In some places, they're not talking, they're acting. Steve Fletcher represents the 3rd Ward in Minneapolis. He's on the city council there. By this week, his city had been completely scorched by riots. At least 66 businesses were utterly destroyed by fire. 300 more had been vandalized or looted. Fletcher didn't even mention that. Instead, he attacked the city's police department for trying to contain the violence. Quote, "Several of us on the council are working on finding out what it would take to disband the Minneapolis Police Department," end quote. You'd think people in the city would be shocked by that, but at least on the city council, everyone else nodded their approval. In the 9th Ward, Councilwoman Alondra Cano tweeted this yesterday, quote, "The Minneapolis Police Department is not reformable. Change is coming." According to City Councilman Fletcher, all 9 members of the City Council are now considering getting rid of the Minneapolis Police Department. Hard to believe, but it's not just there. In the city of Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti looks out across the worst rioting in the nation's 2nd largest city in a generation, in almost 30 years. His conclusion? We need far fewer police. It could have been better if they hadn't been there. Garcetti has announced he's going to cut funding for law enforcement.
I want you to know we will not be increasing our police budget. How can we at this moment? Our city, through our city administrative officer, identified $250 million in cuts so we could invest in jobs, in health, in education, and in healing. And that those dollars need to be focused on our Black community here in Los Angeles, as well as communities of color and women and people who have been left behind for too long. And will this involve cuts? Yes, of course, to every department, including the police department.
When Democrats across the country start saying the same thing at the same time, you can be certain there's a reason for it.